everyone.
Look at all the phones out right now. Everyone get your pictures in while you can. Thank you so much for checking us out at the Popper Stage, the main stage in Emerald City Comic-Con, powered by Xfinity. If you want to ask your questions, make sure that you're getting them in. You're going to see the QR codes popping up. But before we start, I get to talk to John because I'm very, very lucky. First and foremost, Attack the Block sequel when?
Actually, last week read the latest draft that Joe Cornish has been writing up, and it's cool. Moses is back, the team is back, so yeah, I'm really excited to go back to that.
I'm so excited.
Really excited.
All the Commonwealth people in the audience are like, yes, please. So since you are from across the pond, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how do you make a perfect cup of tea?
You know what, I'm Nigerian, so my experience in London was very Nigerian. So my dad would be like, when you leave the house, you're in London. When you get inside here, you're in Nigeria. I'd be like, well, how do you take your tea? Well, good nectar, African honey is good.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A great temperature, maybe some, little mint letters in there, it should be all right.
That is such a better answer than, I like the Yorkshire tea that comes in that one box that every city.
I should have just said 2 tea bags or something like that.
Some milk and sugar or whatever it is that people want. You have stated that you want to play Othello in Hamlet. So I want everyone in this room to get on Threads or, I don't know, Blue Sky, whatever it is that we're on now, and tag National Theatre Live and say, please, 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 please.
And by the way, I do think I'm very much qualified for Othello specifically because I did a very amazing performance in college. And honestly, only my dad turned up, but he cried. So I think they should use that to get me in somehow.
Definitely. Also, every theater kid is like, correct. Yes, that's huge. Did you say he was proud of you?
No, he actually quite liked it. He said, look, I don't understand anything they're saying because it's Taoist and those and all of that, but he goes, yeah, I kind of got the story, you were good at it. Thanks, Dad.
Are there any other classic theater roles that you'd like to tackle? Like, are we going to see you in Look Back in Anger, Waiting for Godot?
I don't know, maybe, after Cynthia Erivo is done with Jesus Christ Superstar, maybe I need to step in there.
Yeah. But let's be real, Judas has the best song in that music.
And who said I was playing Jesus? I'm playing Judas. That's what I'm playing.
Or we can go really progressive and you could play Mary Magdalene.
I mean, it'll be a different take.
Yeah. I don't know how to love him slap.
Yeah, it'll be a different take.
As a big literary nerd, I want to ask you also about Watership Down. Oh no, I'm here for the questions I want to ask.
This is very specific.
Yes, you were Bigwig, the leader of all the rabbits. What was it like to put yourself not only in an important leadership role, but a leadership role for mummies?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the originals, and as a kid, the originals kind of freaked me out. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, because it was like rabbits, and it was artistically done well, but they were in like really adult circumstances. Like they were getting like run over and stuff. So I loved the intention of the story, the intensity of it, and in understanding that, I was like, okay, cool. I kind of have to play a tough guy, maybe use the most deepest octave of my voice. And then, try it.
Oh, people really liked that. You're gonna have people coming by later like, can you do that deep, big, great voice? Huge Watership Down.
But it was good fun, and everybody was there. James McAvoy, and they brought a lot of great people together, so I enjoyed it.
The Superstar cast was led by John Boyega.
It was alright.
Not too bad. What was recording it like? Did you record it alone? Did you get to be with any of your amazing cast members?
Yeah, there was some that were groups, and then some that we were alone. And then I went to shoot Dayton Tyrone at the time, so I had to go back and forth. Yeah. So, but sometimes you can finish voiceovers much later. So I enjoy it though. Animation is dope.
How much later is much later?
Yeah, I've done recordings as late as 4 or 5 months later. They're like, oh, we want a different line, or we want a different emotion from the line, so come back and do it. And I go, well, as long as I get to still wear a onesie, I'm all good.
What color is this onesie?
I've got a few actually. There's a banana one, grapes. I have a fruit. It goes through the different fruit delicacies. And And then I have my very corny Star Wars ones that will never show anybody because I think Harrison was like, oh, here.
I was like, that would be a very specific subsection of the internet.
Yeah, I'd only send that to Harrison directly.
Would he bear that with good humor, or would he be like, what are you doing?
He'd be like, shut up, kid.
We've got some fan questions, so why don't we throw a couple of them in. Robin has a great one. Would you ever write or direct? And if so, what kind of story?
Yeah, definitely. I run a production company, Upper Room Productions. We've done some producing so far. And there's a little bit of writing you have to do for the idea and developing the story, but I feel like I need to be trained a lot more. I can produce, I can give you the ideas, maybe, you know, develop the project with other of my castmates who might be interested. But to write, I think I respect the writers, I respect their craft, they're different. So for me, I think I need to go through the training process and then, you know, directing, guys, I'll be real, I'm so scared of directing.
Why?
I don't know, I've never been on set where everything relies on me. The director is the leader of the set there that, you know, we follow their lead. And so for me, maybe a little bit more maturing in that skill set.
I was going to say, but you've been a leading man whose job is to lead a cast and set the tone. So I think that job would be, I think you can do it.
Once I get the technicalities down, I don't try and shoot everything on a wire. That should be all right.
We have great cameras so you can do it on 8K.
You all right?
Yeah, we've got it. We're going to go and try something right now. Alex asks, what is a weird talent that you have? And I'm going to ask, will you show us your weird talent?
I don't know if I have one. I kind of lay it all out on the screen and said, that's what I've got for you guys.
Can you cross your eyes or wiggle your ears?
I can't, so I thought I was going to be one of those ones because my ears are actually quite big and detached from my skull. So I thought that would give me some movement. I'm not talented with that either. But I can do a very great tax return if anyone... I'll make sure they don't get everything.
You're really good at 1099s and deductions.
Really good.
By the way, if you haven't found your taxes, please file your taxes very soon. Taylor says, other than Fontaine, who was your favorite clone to play? And they cloned Tyrone. That's a good question.
I loved playing OG Fontaine, which is Fontaine at like 75 years old. It was fun to play someone more older and mature. And it just tested my skill set. You know, I couldn't do anything that was too far detached from the character.
Yeah.
So literally I'd be there on set in this full-faced prosthetics, aged up by 35 years, and people were being very, very nice to me. I'm like, I kind of like this old shit. Like, everyone's like really delicate with me, you know?
Opening doors,
getting me tea, and I would like play it up and be like, thank you. I'd play it up and stuff, you know?
But what kind of tea would they bring you?
Oh yeah,
Two tea bags?
Yeah, 2 tea bags they would do. But I could request, and I could request, you know, soda in the morning.
Ooh.
And they'd look at me and go, well, he's gonna be gone soon. So.
I hope when you are 75, you get to look back on that and be like, yeah, I nailed it back then.
Yeah, and I told my makeup artist, I said, because he was doing like these additional wrinkles and lines, and I was like, I hope this is not your vision for me. No, wrinkles are fine, but not the way he did it, because he had to look like an evil, almost like a super villain in a way, so he had to really accentuate those, you know, facial expressions and stuff, and I was like, wow, this look completely different, you know.
Do you see that face in your nightmares? You think about moisturizing?
Quick flashes. Quick flashes.
Paul asks, does Finn or John have an encouraging message for kids? That is so sweet.
During the time, I wasn't quite sure whether that would be the case, but as I met kids at the airport, in McDonald's, as I meet kids, you know, the main thing they say is the difference, you know, being part of an organization as big as the Stormtroopers and you being singled out for something greater. And a lot of them kind of, like, it appeals to them because they're at the stage where they're dreaming and they're looking at mom and dad and aspiring to what they want to do and what they want to be. And I guess Finn represents, you know, you got to take your first step and you have the power to make your choices regardless of where you come from or what you belong to, you know. So I love that. If that wasn't a reality check that the real CEOs and bosses of these guys.
Yep.
And, that would show you that, the audience, whether they're old or young, when they come to you and they say, I loved your project, because they don't have to watch it.
Yeah.
You've got to at least pat yourself on the back and be thankful for that, for sure.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. There's a comment from Alexander that just says, for John, like the question's going to be for someone else. And it really tickles me every time it comes by. For John. The question is, would you like to see an Attack on the Block sequel? But I blowed you an answer to that already, so. But I just thought it was really funny that it's for John. Ashley says, if Finn joined the dark side, what cool name would he have? So now you do have to flex your writerly skills.
Maybe his name could be coded, maybe based off of one of the Old Republic villains, something like that, or maybe he could go back to FN 2187. Maybe there's something kind of dark about going back.
And reclaiming that?
Yeah, but I think if anyone's going to go dark side, I just don't think it's going to be Finn.
No.
But if anyone's going to go rogue and do good the way he wants to do it, it would be Finn.
Yes, good answer.
Well, the Finn in my head after Rise of Skywalker.
Well, you're the expert. You are Finn. You are the expert on Finn. We're not asking anybody else. We're asking you.
Yeah.
Robert says, I believe you watch Who is your favorite Attack on Titan character?
Oh, Captain Levy. That's my guy. That's my guy. He's the only one that showed up like in the middle of season 1, and I felt like, okay, they have things under control.
Yes.
Because these Titans just going there through, they're eating everybody. And the Warriors are there untrained a little bit, and kind of like, I have this passion to be the greatest Warriors, and I'm going to kill every single Titan I see. And it's like, yeah, mate, you got 4 years until that works out, Aaron. But Captain just comes and he goes, I've done this my entire life. he just gets it done, so he's my favorite guy.
What other anime are you into?
My Hero Academia, Naruto Shippuden specifically. Naruto, I love you, but you got to step it up a little bit. Naruto was just so legendary. Like Naruto, I'm still kind of trying to get used to. And there's been some other ones I've been tapping into as well.
If you went to UA, what would you think your power would be?
Oh my gosh, maybe teleportation or something like that.
Heck yeah!
Yeah. Because that way I can do Seattle Comic Con, Comic Con.
In less than 12 hours.
I can come to your houses and act the scenes live.
Only if you pay with a proper cup of tea.
Right.
That's right to the top. Winston, what is your favorite Star Wars memory? Why is it being cast?
Oh, there's so many Star Wars memory, but this is one I've told before, but it's just my favorite, so I'll tell it again. But it was taking Harrison Ford to my local area and feeding him Nigerian food. And it was, what I liked about it is that when he asked me that, I've just been eating chicken breast and veg, and I just want to eat something that's from your culture, because I've spoken to him about, my dual citizenship, where I'm from and stuff. His personal security was kind of like, where you taking Indiana Jones? I said, I'm taking Indiana Jones to the hood. I'm taking him to the church. Because he has fans there too. And he did. As soon as they said, a whole bunch of Nigerians were outside of the restaurant, and as soon as they saw Harrison, it was like, oh my God, are you Harrison Ford? And he said, I used to be. In the background like this. So cool.
Did you treat him to a Nigerian coffee service?
All of it.
Did he see through time after?
Yes, he did. He was knocked out. In fact, we had one of these, because Harrison's got money apparently. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. So we had one of these Mercedes Cadillac things with the extra leg room.
Oh yeah.
But I was on the side with more leg room, and he was on the side of less leg room. So we're silently riding. He looks over to me and goes, this is gonna be awkward, but I need to stretch my legs. We're gonna need to swap places. So it's just me climbing under Harrison Ford and slipping. True story. Swapping places. I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I like this life. This isn't too bad,
I've gone to a level of intimacy with solo.
If I text anyone now that Indiana Jones just climbed over me to swap seats in the passenger, they would never believe me.
No.
So,
But we believe you.
No, yeah, you guys are tapped in. They're tapped in.
Katie asks, what is your favorite experience working on Attack the Block?
Oh wow. I would say riding into work with the boys. So we needed to train on the bikes, and Joe, our director, was really extreme. So we were like, oh Joe, we need training for us to ride as a convoy and look like a group. And he goes, well, I'll send you the bikes, but I'm not gonna send you the training. You just ride to work every day, you get it, right? Plus, we were very low budget, so we didn't have all the money for all those, Marvel type level training. You come in, you come and do it. So just having that time to kind of like enjoy my personal life with my castmates, while also learning new skills and then being introduced to this industry, this amazing fandom. I think that was an amazing time in my life, for real.
I do like the idea that in future you could be the bike technique trainer for people on projects going forward.
And I'm going to be tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to be tough on them. Because they're tough on me. Yeah. But those guys, all the guys that work on movie sets to make us look good for you are they're phenomenal. And then they don't even they don't get any good ego boost for it. They just do their job and they disappear into the background. So it's always great to work with those specialists,
And they come in really early, and then they
stay later
than everybody else.
Very early, yeah.
John says, what characteristics of Finn did you get to add or enhance versus what was written?
Ooh, I think there was a level of growth from Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker that me and JJ had spoke about adding. Because I was like to JJ, I'm sick and tired of eating dirt, JJ. JJ, I know how to move.
Yeah.
My lightsaber skills are undeniable. Get me out there on the field.
Yeah.
I remember JJ coming up to me and said, John, we've got you, we've got Poe, we've got Chewbacca running through the corridors, taking out these stormtroopers. And that's when I said, yeah, that's enough. So that was a nice moment and something for me to revel in,
It was funny to hear you describe it as eating dirt, because I just think of the first trailer where he was sitting up at the stand.
Yeah, but I was eating dirt the whole time below the camera. So by the time I pop out in that teaser trailer, I was, it was in Abu Dhabi in the desert. I just felt I was doing a lot of falling. I was always falling. Come on, be honest with me. I was always falling. So I was like to JJ, I was just like, can I be on my feet a little bit longer?
Yeah. To go back to that teaser trailer moment really quick though, when you were filming that with a face full of sand in 40 degrees Celsius weather, I'm sure, in Abu Dhabi, did you know it was going to be iconic?
No, not at all. Until when we filmed it, and I didn't get it. I had the full stormtrooper suit on in the desert, and JJ goes, John, all I need you to do is squat and get up, and just continue doing that. Just squat, get up, look around, look surprised, and then run off. And I said, well, this isn't in the script. And he looks at me while looking at his iPad and goes, this is for the teaser trailer.
Oh, nice.
And that's when he told me after, I was just like, oh, okay, cool, this is dope. And he goes, you're gonna be the first one that they see. I was just like, you sure? I would have called Harrison and Carrie, but whatever you want to do. He goes, no, we want to introduce you to the fandom, all of that stuff. So it was real exciting, but gruesome, but doing that, it was cool.
How many squats do you think you did?
Probably in the high 50s. Full squat, by the way.
That's why that booty looks so good.
Exactly. The stormtrooper shieldings needed a different size.
Lucas says, as a fellow Star Wars gamer, which Star Wars game is your favorite to play and why? Well, we did hear you say Knights of the Old Republic before.
Yes, I love the Old Republic PC, and I love...
Not PC!
Yeah, PC on that one. And then I love The Force Unleashed. Is it 2? Yeah, I think I like 2, part 2 of Force Unleashed.
Nice.
Yeah.
On which?
Oh, it's got to be the PlayStation for that one. Yeah, it's got to be the PlayStation for that one. Yeah. You on Xbox? I like both of them. Xbox I feel looks beautiful.
Yes.
But PlayStation just has the socials I like, for multiplayer online gaming, if any gamers.
Are you bold enough to tell us what your gamer time is?
No.
That is the smart choice.
But I'll be honest with you, if you are playing Star Wars Battlefront and you so happen to hear someone that sounds just like Finn, playing as Finn, whooping your ass, it might just be me.
Is there any way that you could play anybody other than Finn if Finn is an option? Does that feel like a cheat on yourself?
Yeah, it does a little bit. The worst is when I'm playing online multiplayer, right? And someone else is playing me and kills me. I don't know how to feel. I'm like, well, I did want you to win, but no, I don't. It's so confusing. So that's the point. You know, when I get killed online, there's someone playing in my skin. There's a moment of wow, they chose my skin to play, and then a moment of oh, they're better than me. Wow.
But they'll never be you, John.
No.
Hannah asks, any other movie franchises you would like to join?
Oh, we're reading through some right now.
Say more.
Yeah. A whole bunch of action going on. I might be, you know, kicking ass again.
In or out of a cape?
I mean,
why not both?
More heroes don't wear capes, you know. But
anything from the Incredible.
yeah, I mean, but there has been a few times, I guess, especially over the last few months, where I have been summoned by the studio gods. And yeah, you know, because that's how they do it. They just call you out of nowhere. You don't even know how they get your number, and they're just like, oh, buddy, we want to offer you this role. I need you to meet me in Beverly Hills right now. It's like, no, dude, I'm in Seattle Comic Con. I don't come.
Like, I could be there.
So I would love to do more sci-fi franchises and stuff, but what I'm working on right now is my own production slate, and I'm working with some friends that you've seen me with before, you know, to bring you guys that are gonna things and ideas that are going to be more original and fresh, you know.
Would you be comfortable telling us maybe what genres or styles you might be?
We've got historical drama, we've got horror, we've got sci-fi action, we've got a really good grounded superhero story. So not colourful like the rest of them, but if you think Glass, if you think
oh, cool,
grounded, stuff like that. And you know, I've just been talking to people who have loved their work over the years. I'm like, put me in it. I don't mind. I'll be a tree. I do a great tree, especially when there's breeze. So I would say that, you know.
What kind of tree?
Oak tree every time.
Can you give us some oak tree in the breeze?
I thought I was being the tree the whole entire time.
My bad. You can clearly tell I'm not a director.
Right.
Avery had a question. It went away, but it was which kaiju or Jaeger from Pacific Rim is your favorite? And I love Pacific Rim.
Yes. I prefer the robots from the first, if I'm being honest, in terms of the design, and also Guillermo del Toro has such an original, I mean, if you love Guillermo, you know that he's so intricate to the designs of it. I don't know the names, but there was one with like four arms. I think
it was the red one.
The red one, yeah.
Crimson Typhoon?
Crimson Typhoon, is that his name?
That's the one that
well, it's not yeah, right, the old one. Yeah. And the old Gypsy.
Yes.
The old Gypsy Avenger, I like. And the orange one and the new one.
Oh, amazing. I have that actually. What was it like being in The Woman King?
It was amazing. Even the way I got the role, you know, Viola Davis just sent me a letter.
She summoned you?
She summoned me. You know, I was in my car and all of a sudden I wasn't. I was in front of Viola.
And John Boyega.
Yeah, but you know, it was lovely because she approached the notion of it's a smaller role. You are not the lead of this. You don't, you know, get to move the story. But we want you to come and support a next generation of amazing talent of women. And it's directed by an amazing woman. And the story and the narrative suits my culture as well as a Nigerian. So I was like, yes, Viola Davis, yes, I'll come and start.
Yeah, what do you mean say no?
Yeah, I'm not saying no. Pay me in food, I'm coming. And it was an amazing experience.
Thank you to the nice friend who put the questions back up on our prompter, because the second half is what kind of research did you do? Which I think is a great question.
Yeah, I mean, so Gina Prince Bythewood got us in group research, and we essentially had to study the documented issues that happened during that time and where our story kind of correlates to the historical documents. And then it was just about learning more and more from documentaries, people who were still in the culture. Thankfully, I had some family members who had, you know, close interaction with the culture of Agogie. And so they just, you know, put us through the runs. And then after that, I was just like, I'll add a bit of my dad's personality into it. Because African kings are, you know, like the late, great Chadwick Boseman. They are charismatic, you know, there's a presence, you know. So we wanted to...
We can clap for Chadwick.
Yeah, we can do it. So we can tap into that a little bit and have fun with it.
You mentioned that in the slate that you're developing there is historical fiction. Are you taking some of the lessons that you learned making The Woman King and bringing them over there?
Funny enough, I'm taking the lessons I learned in Star Wars, but now the lightsaber is a sword. I prefer the lightsaber, but with the sort of the movements and stuff that I would have to learn for the training of these kind of projects are quite similar to, lightsaber, fighting in defense. So that's been something I've taken from as a skill set to learn how to be a warrior and stuff.
It's definitely not because I'm trying to figure out who
it is.
topic is,
Yeah,
but would you tell me what style of sword training you're working with?
It's swords, arrows, horses, all of that.
Running, jumping, climbing trees.
Young Russell Crowe, think of that, are you entertained? It's that kind of, epic kind of feel, but with an intimate story.
When the trailer comes up, I'm like,
That's the one I feel, yeah. Exactly.
Lucas says, do you think Finn is force sensitive?
Yes.
To see you as a Jedi, but maybe it needs to be who do we need to get threads tweet Bruce by at to see Finn in his full.
I really don't know. Obviously, we've got the movie with Daisy coming right now, and I just don't know anything about it because basically you're contracted. Let's have the intimate conversation, friends. You're contracted for 3 movies, and then after those 3 movies are done, they're done, and then you have to wait until the powers that be contact you and tell you, you know what, we've seen a space in the story to add your character back. And I haven't had that conversation so far. Not so far.
He says because we definitely can't see the Marvel, Star Wars, Disney snipers. Right.
Yeah.
We'll not talk about this.
They're here. I mean, most of them are delegated to Tom Holland because he... Yeah, Tom, I know about you. Tom, me too. We are in the same group. I lost my script as well.
Wait, did you really?
Oh yeah, I did. I did lose my. You didn't hear about that?
No.
So I was moving houses. I had a nice little apartment, little 2-bedroom that I was staying in. And I was on the treadmill one day and I saw a mouse run past the treadmill. So what did I say? I gotta get out of here. It's not my house. In the gist of the move, it gets confusing. You're packing boxes. You're trying to know boxes. It's the wrong name. This glorious script of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker just ended up being left underneath a bed. And then I moved out of that accommodation, went to work, and they were like, where's your script? And I said, it's somewhere here. You know when you fake look through all your pockets and there's nothing in there and you know it's not, and your heart starts to beat? And I looked up at JJ's assistant at the time and I said, I don't know where the script is. And you could see the blood just go away from her eyes. And then after that, I just got calls on calls from several different people. I got calls from one of the most powerful execs while he was at Disneyland with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg saying, hey John, I heard you lost the script. It's not my fault, I'm not trying to ruin the franchise. I'm just moving. And at the time I was in my 20s and I was a bit more clumsy with organization. So I'm just like, I'm just a clumsy little young lad. I'm so sorry that I did that.
I think we all know where that script ended up, and it was that mouse's bed.
No. Do you know it ended up on eBay? You didn't hear about this? Okay, so everyone just Google it when we're done with this. And if you come and see me at the signings, then we can talk about it. It ended up on eBay, so Disney had to send guys. Like, it was...
Really sent their snipers.
Mickey Mouse was like, don't get my script out! I said, Mickey, but it was sorted out, and thankfully to JJ and everyone, Kathy, everyone, they had mercy on me, so I'm grateful to them.
That's fantastic. That's so funny. Lily says lots of people consider Star Wars to be your big break, but what do you consider to be your big break?
I would say Attack the Block. Yeah. Attack the Block would be the big break. Because many of you, especially in the States, when we were making Attack the Block, we were like, oh, the Americans are never going to see it, they've got big budgets and great films out there. They're going to see us on a random day. And then Attack the Block ended up getting some really good, decent distribution, and then we ended up on Redbox. And back in the day, do they still have Redbox? Is it still around? Okay. Well, Redbox, it just used to be outside 7-Eleven or Ralph's.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
And I remember going into Ralph's to get one of those little donuts that they have in there. And then I stopped. Just one. And then I stopped and I saw Attack the Block, you know, in the chamber thing. And then after that, many of you from the States started hearing about it. And it was actually the American fans that validated the lifespan of the movie. So for me, like, that was the big break, because all of a sudden I was in another country with fans that didn't know me from anywhere and supporters that really dug my work. And I was just like, this is what a break looks like, when people from another culture can watch your movies and go, man, that was cool. You know, and it was a great experience, and I think that would be my big break. But Star Wars too. But also J.J. Abrams had watched Attack the Block.
Ooh,
that's
how you got
that's
through
what,
the Star Wars door?
That's how I got through the Star Wars door. And Tom Cruise, thankful to Tom Cruise, who loved Attack the Block, who was editing Mission Impossible at the time with J.J. Abrams, and Tom told J.J., you got to watch this kid, Attack the Block. And J.J. watched it, and one thing led to another. 4 or 5 years later, I was in the movie.
So, because you're both Tom Cruise, is there a future Mission Impossible turn for you? Hanging off an airplane?
I ain't doing all of that, Tom. Tom, I'm not doing all of that. But I'd easily be the man in the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex asked, who is a director that you would like to work with?
Oh man, if I ever got the opportunity to work with someone like, you know, Christopher Nolan, that would be amazing. I think Joel Taylor, who I just done Dayclone Tyrone with, would be amazing. You know, all the Kugler I love. There's so many, James Samuel is amazing. There's so many different directors I would love to work with. Yeah.
Gotta hire them onto your historical project.
I mean, I've sent them the script. Some of you haven't replied, by the way, so I'm using it as a point of contact. Get back to me.
Paul asked, what was it like to work with Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford? I don't know if we're gonna do better than the
Carrie.
What was Carrie like?
For me, Carrie Fisher represented freedom and being able to be yourself in an industry and in a path that is sometimes based on not being yourself. So there's just a grounded energy and I don't give a, wait, can we swear?
You can say whatever you want, my darling.
She just had a I don't give a shit kind of attitude that I liked. I remember there was one time obviously you have to keep a strict diet, and I was dieting, and I don't know if has anyone tried any one of these diets over the years, you know, lean meats, good veg. So I was doing all of that. You know, it gets to that point where you plateau and it gets really boring. Or you have a bad day and you're like, I just want a Snickers bar, man. And I had one of those days. And everybody else was like, John, don't do it, this is serious work. Carrie came up to me and she said, fuck it. I said, Carrie, I don't have no candy on me. And she goes, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna have candy waiting in your trailer. And she did, she fed me carbs and sugar and food. And it was the essence of that, the kind of the mother essence of that you will have bad days, and it's cool to just take a break, but just make sure you get back in the gym and run that off tomorrow. And that, for me, I needed that just because it was tiring and all of that stuff.
I was gonna say, that's an act of real love.
Yeah, no, and you know, articulate, very smart, prolific writer. There was just so many different sides to her that I got to know, and I was kind of like, nah, Carrie Fisher is that cool auntie, you know what I mean? That, you know, the rich cool auntie that comes in once in a while and just says something with the fur. And then she just goes away for 6 years and has an amazing life. That's what she, you know, what she represented in that way.
I think we're describing what so many of us in this room are aspiring to be.
Oh yeah, no, me too. I'm trying to get out there too, you know.
In a caftan?
Yeah. Why not? It's free.
Rebecca asked, who is your favorite clone trooper?
Who is my favorite clone trooper? I have to go back to.
Would they not all be your favorites? They're all clones.
Yeah. I'm more into the Jedi's, the Kit Fistos. You know, I like the Jedi's that are in the background that never get a chance.
Yeah.
Like, who's that guy? And when you go back and do the lore, like you see that they have like quite an extensive story and background. So I like the guys on the edge. So Kit Fisto was one of my favorite Jedi's. Yeah.
I also like the idea of you pouring through those same like Star Wars encyclopedias that the rest of us were.
Yeah. There's like sometimes I just get curious, like what does that droid do? You know, all I've seen that droid do is scream and run away, but what does it actually do? You know what droid I'm talking about.
But again, is that not all droids?
Yeah, I mean BB-8 is more, I don't know, BB-8 is more personable.
Yeah.
Even on set, you know, the guy that controls him was a guy called Brian, and Brian would just be.
Is BB-8 the room with us? Is he? Oh, he's literally right up there.
Chewie. So he would, as you can see, R2D2, the movement would still be there. And just something nice about that. I would say hello to him like he was breathing.
Were they like pets on set?
Very much so, very much so. BB-8 specifically, that was me and Oscar's. That was me and Oscar's dog.
Baby.
Yeah, that's me, baby.
Love child.
Yeah, that's
We're trying to inspire more fan fiction.
Yeah, of course. Man, I miss him. I miss him so much. But yeah, that was BB-8, the joys. There was something about that. Everybody used to cuddle them as if they were there as pets or something.
I just got distracted imagining if Oscar Isaac was your Iago and what that would look like.
Have you ever thought of producing yourself? Because you are hype, by the way. That's a great idea.
I accept.
That's a great idea. That would actually be pretty good. Real pretty. If it happens, I'll be like, it happened at Seattle.
Yeah, this nice lady picture. Ethan was asking, what colored lightsaber would you wield? Nothing but John.
Ooh, man, feel so bad for this, but red.
It's the coolest color.
Red. Yeah, red is my favorite color, and I do have a love for the dark side. I can't lie to you. There was some moments I was like, Kylo, put you back into it. Maybe you can win. Do it properly, Kylo. I just love the representation of the color, the way it bounces off the blue. Like I just love the red sabers.
I just love the idea of you backdoor sipping.
Yeah. I do love the stiffs. They're creepy, but I love a good stiff.
Look, red is the best.
No. You have a couple. I'm glad about it. Yeah, good.
I can't believe there's only 2 red lightsabers in this whole room.
I know. Oh, we have a purple base spin over there?
Yeah, the door. There's another red.
Yeah, we have a few.
There's another red.
I love that.
But the purple lightsaber, though, the doors Samuel L. Jackson is open for Star Wars fans everywhere with the purple lightsaber was iconic.
Yes, basically the mystery of him has always been on my mind.
Read some really good comics, really good books about that.
Yeah. So I'd love to see him back at all.
Jonathan asked, did you get to keep any of the props from your Star Wars experience? And I'm going to ask, did you steal anything from Star Wars? Because the snipers are definitely not here.
They messed up. They hired the regular guys being a big franchise. Yeah, I saw something.
What were you definitely allowed to take from the Star Wars set?
Nothing. You would usually wait to wrap, and then the producers would kind of get, your extra props. As Kathy did, she sent me my full Finn gun, I have my Finn lightsaber. I have all of Finn's jackets throughout each film. I have a Spider-Man themed Stormtrooper helmet that JJ made me. That's from the original helmets from Force Awakens. Yeah,
cool.
I think maybe he got Tom Holland to do it.
Yeah, and then Tom told the entire internet about it.
Yeah, he probably did. So I have a good few things, but the things I stole were like, they had painted in The Last Jedi, what's that red crate? Is that the planet, the red planet? So I took some of the soil from it and put it in little glass jars. I was like, that's great. That's I'm naming all the different.
That's cool.
Yes, I'm a dog.
I was thinking the joke. You left it to stand in your pockets, but.
No. I made sure it looked nice and presentable, actually. And then I stole little, there was a little alien slug thing puppet that they had. I took his head.
Okay, so now we all have to do a rewatch and figure out which little background slug.
Mark Panata scene, look out for him.
Carnitha asked, what is your favorite Nigerian dish?
I like jollof rice. Wait a second. Are they Nigerian? I love it. Good to see you. So I love some jollof rice. Yes. I love some jollof rice, plantains. I'm sure we all eat plantains. Good salad. Yeah.
A nice salad.
Yeah. You gotta have some greens for the fiber and all that nonsense.
Let's keep the food talk going because Lindy asks, which Star Wars snack or food item are you most likely to try? Say it.
What was Luke drinking out of? You don't remember that? What was that milk that Luke that of The Last Jedi, man. And why was that even in the film? So, it must be good. So, I want to taste that. Whatever that milk was that he was living off of, he was isolated, and then Mark Hamill done this great, when he drank it, I'm like, it's nasty, but I have it.
Well, and if it's what's been sustaining him in that rural area, you have to assume it has all your basic nutrients.
Yeah, and it's tasty, it's delicious, and he still had his Jedi powers, he's strong. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give me some of that, boob scoop, whatever that is.
Suzanne asked, have you joined the fun of ECCC as a stormtrooper with a winky face? Do you wear a mask when you go to the con floor?
Yeah, I would usually, wear a mask, just so that I can buy all the, stuff I want, and then I take it off and then meet everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like walking the floor and enjoying random stuff because I still want to get trinkets, myself. I broke my Captain Lady action figure and I was like, oh no, I'm coming back to Comic-Con to replace this.
Someone's got one.
I'm sure someone's got a full outfit on here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
At least one.
I don't want to step up my cosplaying game.
What costumes are you working on?
I'd love to do Blade. I attempted to do Bane.
Movie Bane? Comic Bane?
Tom Hardy Bane.
Yeah.
I was born in the dark. Oh, big buddy. I wanted to be more him. So I like cosplaying and doing different stuff, especially during Halloween or cons and stuff like that.
What are you going to do this Halloween?
I think I want to be a musician or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll be Michael.
Ooh, good call.
Yeah, a few years ago I was Eazy-E and it worked. Everyone in Miami was like, congratulations, bro. Love your career. Like, that'll be easy. That'll be someone cool.
Someone cool.
Yeah. And I love wearing wigs during Halloween because. Do
you not sweat?
I do, but it's worth it. Ladies, it's like the heels. You gotta suffer for it. But I like it because I get to change up my face, and then it's a good icebreaker because people don't go, oh, you're the guy from the movies. It's more so like, oh, you got a great costume. I don't know who you are, but we vibe more with people when I have a wig on and something that distorts the, the skin a little.
Eventually go, oh, you look like that guy from Star Wars.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if I play. I think sometimes it's usually in the strange spots. So the other day I went to Macy's to go and get a brown blazer because I was supposed to do a screening and I woke up and my brown blazer had a hole in it. I said, I can't represent myself in front of these people like this. I'm going to Macy's. I went down to Macy's to check out what's going on. And this woman was by the perfume and she looked up at me and said, no. He would not. Yeah, I almost found myself wanting to go up to her and go, no, I would, like I'm normal, just like you. But those interactions are cool. Or when you just see a kid and the kid is just like, do the famous.
They're going to eat out on those stories for the rest of their lives.
I know, but I love, especially the kiddies, I love giving them those moments. And if I have a first order or a rebel thing, I'll give them a patch or something and I'll be like, may the force be with you. And they go, oh, wait. So sweet, love it.
Kathy asked, what is the greatest acting advice you've ever received?
Oh,
good.
Wow, the greatest acting advice I've ever received.
What's the George Lucas classic, Louder and Faster?
Yes. One from a man called Nick Frost, who worked with us on Attack the Block, and we were kiddies at the time, teenagers who were like, oh, I want to learn my lines. And one day we came on set and all of us were kind of struggling with the flow of our lines. And he just did this exercise where he was just like, you got to run it again and again until it sounds like a conversation we're having, until it sounds like you've instantly thought it and you're just saying it spontaneously. And that's a skill that I take on to other projects that I've done. I remember Nick Frost telling us, just drilling us on getting the lines right. And that's why that film felt so natural, because we had drills and games like that would get your skill set up. So I still do that to today.
Well, when you play Hamlet, I can't wait for that to take you an entire hour to run through all the soliloquies.
Now I aged a bit. I'm like, just learn your lines like 6 years before and then you'll be all right.
You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Friends, I think this is going to be our last question. I know. But if I don't do this, then it's not the snipers who will kill me, it's the stage manager.
Yeah. That's a different ballgame.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw Benji right under that bus. Thank you, Benji. You're the best. We love you. Yeah, give it up for Benji and stage manager.
What up, Benji?
Nothing without you. There was a question. I'm sorry, I don't know who asked it because it's not on the screen anymore, but I think it's a great one to go out on. What is your favorite Star Wars movie? And if you want to mulligan it, I can say don't pick one you've been in because that's too obvious.
Oh, no. My favorite, though.
Yeah.
How can it be a favorite when Star Wars is alive? It's like different, scenarios and stuff. I don't know. Return of the...
Oh.
Return of the Jedi. And guess what's after that, though? Guess what's after that? Rogue One. I think that's... And I can't lie to you. Rogue One came out during our franchise.
It did.
I said I should have been born earlier. I like that movie. I think it was a Gareth Edwards. Just fantastic. So those are my two ones that I love. I'm looking forward to Mandalorian and all the other stuff. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to you standing in the background being one of those Jedis that everybody feels like the video later.
Yeah. I'll just be passing by. That's all. That's all.
John Boyega, thank you so much for joining us. That's right, let's give it up for John!
Well, it's time for my favorite question of the whole weekend, and that is, who's ready for a show today? Again, please, when these folks hit this stage, I need you to yell, clap, cheer, toss a baby in there.
No tossing babies.
I mean, you probably shouldn't have a baby at this panel, but if you do, it's okay, we'll let it slide, just plug your ears. So, do me a favor right now. Turn to somebody that you don't know, give them a high five. High five a stranger, high five a stranger. Nice, now turn to somebody else you don't know, give them a fist bump a stranger. All right, now turn to somebody else you don't know, ask them for some hand sanitizer. And now my favorite one, turn to somebody that you do know. Do not do this to a stranger. Grab by the face and scream, ah, at them. Fantastic. Again, we're going to have a great time. Again, if you have any questions, check out that QR code again. We'll make sure you got the opportunity to ask. We're just minutes away from showtime, so I need to make sure all you do is yell, clap, and cheer, and have a good time. Can we do that? Yes or yes? Hey, I just want to point out, I can tell that they are backstage and they can hear you right now. Those hands, here we go. I want you to put one hand, put up there, just like this. Just like this. Bring that fist down right here. Swing it. Scream it. Fist bump.
Deliciously good time. Now introducing to the stage, Hugh Dancy and Matt Nicholson!
Weird. Up here, we're great. How are you guys doing?
What are your names?
Every single one now, go. I wanted to start off with a little question, which was, what has your experience been like working when you worked on the show and seeing the fan response for the series and characters all these years later?
It's taken on a life of its own. Somebody asked me today, I can't remember a question about whether there's anything I thought that everybody had got wrong. But there's like, no, it's not mine anymore, right? It's kind of out there. So that's an amazing feeling. That's unusual.
Yeah, and being my generation, I don't believe I was online 10 years ago, so I had no idea. I think it was after the first couple of seasons when we did kind of a panel, a Red Dragon thing, and we realized that we had the Fanables existed. And it was...
I thought it was like 4 people.
Yeah. And then we went to Japan and there was Japanese Fanables and so on. So yes, been just growing and growing since then. It's just amazing to see that, as you said, it has a life of its own.
Going back to the very beginning, what attracted you to the series at first? Was it the characters specifically that you played? Was it the production team involved? Was it the overall franchise that you were very interested in?
To quote Michael Gambon, it was the money and the size of the part. No, it wasn't. It was meeting Brian Fuller, actually, for me anyway. That's what the third sofa is for Brian. He, you know, it's always like this, I'm sure it's the same for Maz. I met him, he sits down, he says he's going to give you a brief idea of the show, and then he talks for an hour and a half and describes, like, you know, hours and hours and hours of television, and it bore no resemblance to what we made eventually. But it was really compelling, because he's a very good storyteller, obviously. And so from that, then I was in it.
Yeah, the same for me. I mean, in the beginning I got a few scripts called Hannibal. I didn't read them for a while because I was busy. And I thought, I honestly thought it was, you know, Hannibal the Conqueror. So I was like, sandals and swords and elephants. Yeah, I read it and I was like, what is this? What is going on here? And then of course I got nervous, more so I think than you, because these are giant shoes to wear. It's Anthony Hopkins, right? But it was a different animal. It's a TV show, completely different feel and tone to it. So after 8 hours of Brian talking on me, I was like,
fine, I'll do it.
And then obviously I knew that he was on board. It was all about whether I got the part or not. And so I was really pleased to work with you again. First thing I ever did abroad was with him.
What a special treat that must have been to have so much information up front going into this series.
Yeah, all of it false. Yes.
And so speaking of shoes to fill, when it comes to other depictions of your characters in previous media, what is something you took as inspiration for your portrayal of the role, if anything? But then, importantly, what is something you personally wanted to expand on and make it your own?
I think that everything is lifted, right? I mean, in terms of Hannibal, the character of Hannibal, he's a lover of everything, fine art, music, food, everything basically opposite of me. Everything opposite of me. I love sports and I eat McDonald's. And Hannibal will kill me for it.
That's not fine.
And he's quite rude.
So that was really fun. I mean, basically, the little things happened, and in the beginning I was just, smelling the wine, trying desperate to make it my own. So I always, for some reason, I had the glass out here, and it was just a pretentious thing. And then I realized that's smart though, because his nose is so fine, it cannot handle it this close. It has to be far away. So little things like that popped up, but for me it was all about loving everything he did. Even though it's a dark world, seen from outside, in his world it is not. It is things that he loves that he's doing. Is there a beep sound here? Do you guys hear it, or is it just me? There's a beep. Is it just me? All right.
At least 2 of my 5 senses are failing. So. Just talking about my failing eyesight. I don't know. In terms of wanting to bring something to it that was personal or separate, because obviously there's the books. You know, there's this wealth of material from Thomas Harris, and then there's books that were written by other people who were inspired by that, not novels, but about profiling and so on, which I found very helpful. I had played a character who was on the autistic spectrum, which was related, but kind of inverse. And I felt that at the beginning of, when we started making the show, there was this kind of broad idea that Will was maybe on the spectrum, which it was very non-specific and kind of inaccurate. But because I'd already thought about it a bit and I knew a bit about it, that helped me into thinking about him and thinking about, you know, his eye contact, wearing glasses. Like, well, why for him it was not something he didn't want to look people in the eye, mostly.
Next, I would love to dive into a bit more of Will and Hannibal's relationship. Complex. There's intrigue, there's understanding, there's love. What about their dynamic intrigued you the most?
Therapy.
I think they're on each other's case from the very get-go. They read each other like open books, but they get surprised down the line. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's a cat and mouse game constantly, and they thoroughly enjoy it, both of them. Obviously, I'm on top of the game most of the time, but and there's genuinely affection for each other. I mean, there's a great fascination with this character from Hannibal's side. Great fascination. He sees unique potential in this young man.
Yeah, it's true that obviously they're immediately, they lock onto each other. But actually, you know, at the beginning, Will is, I think, kind of annoyed by Hannibal. Like, oh God, he shows up to the motel, and, you know, he's goes to, I think he just doesn't want to be in therapy either. That's kind of, you know, so, you know, tell me about your mother. Oh, really? And obviously, for somebody who is gifted at seeing people like this, he completely fails to see what's right in front of him.
The skulls on the table could have given it away.
Lovely decor.
So please do the funny accent.
It's just European. So, yeah. I mean, the relationship is, from Will's perspective anyway, for that first season, I guess, is one of confusion a lot of the time. Yeah, that's what I like to do.
Can you talk about how it was working with each other as scene partners and how working together either elevated or helped the other's performances throughout the series?
I think we realized early on, we had a ton of scenes sitting opposite each other in the chair. And there's only that much you can do, it seems like that, and you don't want to start inventing stuff just for us to find it interesting. It has to be something, right? And the camera and the way they shot it, we realized after seeing a couple of episodes, were helping us a lot. They were telling a lot of the story with the camera and the special effects. So we early on knew that we could do subtle things, little things with our eyes, noticing stuff that the other person didn't notice, right? So that was helpful, and And I think it was just feeling comfortable in each other's company is nice for any actor because there's a lot of words and we didn't often get them in good time. So just, could lean on each other with some of these scenes, which is beautiful.
Yeah. So right, so we get Brian's script often the night before. I mean, the final version of the scene, which is better and richer and more complicated. But
And completely different.
And again, completely different, and and very verbal. I mean, there's just a lot of words, especially for Maz. Ironically, it's all the big words.
Yeah.
And and so you kind of try to get that in, and then we'd show up, and I think, like Maz is saying, especially with those scenes where we were sat opposite each other, it was one of the first jobs that I remember where everything was now filmed digitally, right? And what that means is that when it was on film, you get to the end of a take, it's cut, they stop it, and then everybody resets. So there's a few minutes, and you do another take. This was the first time for me that they'd start the camera running, and we just do the scene 2-3 times in a row, which isn't always great. But in this case, it was really great because, first of all, you're still learning the words. And secondly, you kind of drop into that zone that Brian lives in of poetry, basically, and try and make it your own and make it natural and find the little beats that Matt's describing.
Kind of going back to what we were saying about effects and there being a lot of text in the script, I'm also curious about the descriptions that you were given, because especially in season 1 when we get inside Will's head when he's looking at the design, how was that kind of given to you? Was that in the script? Were those also conversations to help you visualize those scenes?
I think that the conversations were more when you read some of the scenes. Okay, there is a man inside a horse, and there are mushrooms growing on his face, and then he's like, "This is network television." So the conversation was more, "Are we allowed to do this, Brian?" But he kept surprising us, and we were like opening it and going, "Okay, that's what we're doing." But it was surprising. But it was one of those few. I would say one of the few times, when you have a character that goes from A to B in a story that's say 2 hours long, there's an arc, that you're very, very eager to know exactly where the little turning points are. And there would be tons of times when you go, but he wouldn't do that. My character wouldn't do that in this situation. But in this, I'm speaking for myself now, I think it's the same with you, but in Hannibal's situation, it was like he could do whatever. I mean, anything Brian would write, I'll do it. Because Hannibal would do whatever it takes for him to win whatever he had to win. And so, yeah, Man in the Horse was the smallest thing. Yeah.
Speaking about network television, this show was pretty intense in both visually and also emotionally. It definitely goes to some dark places, especially with Will's character. How would you say you practiced any self-care, like found a way to decompress after kind of having to go to those places on set?
There was this one place that sold chicken wings, I remember.
Comfort food, great.
You think they were chicken wings?
Touché. I've never really, I think I could probably speak for both of us, correct me if I'm wrong, but never really had a problem with that. Love going to work and love getting into it, and the richer the better. And then I love going home. My wife and I had a baby like halfway through the first season, so it wasn't like I was going home like, oh God, that was so hard. And like, okay, we're going to do this. So yeah, that was easy.
But I would say, when characters are struggling with a lot of things, like this character, it can take a toll if you're in that mood the entire day. But that doesn't mean that you are the character, it just means that you spend a lot of time in that mood. Hannibal, on the other hand, was never struggling. Everything was fantastic and a challenge, right? There were a few moments, but he was on the sunny side of the street. Why are you laughing at that? No, but you can't dive into a character like Hannibal and see the darkness in there. You got to see the light in there because that's what he sees.
we all grow as creatives and as people. And so, maybe some of us. Do you view your roles differently now than you did back then? And like, is there something you appreciate more about the series or your character now that time has passed? Something that you reflect on?
No, honestly, I mean, I reflect much more on that time that we were all working together than I do thinking about the character. Or, I don't know, would I do it differently or what's it mean now? I don't. I mean, going back to what we were saying earlier, it's more that has been democratized and kind of shared with many, many people and it's kind of out there. That's why it comes back to us in different forms. So like, oh, okay, that's what you took from it, great. Or maybe not, but or whatever it might be. But I don't know about you, but I don't stop and think, oh, well, it feels so different to me now. No.
No, when you're in the midst of something, you're just diving in there and you're living in the present, and it can be hard work or really hard work, which this turned out to be for a lot of reasons. So later on, seeing how it's been growing on people, just it makes us feel really proud that because we just lived in the moment, and then it turned out to be this 10 years later. It makes us
we would get to the end of every season. I remember having a conversation in the camera truck at the end of the first season, and with one of the guys on the crew, it's like, I think this is good. and I said, yeah, no, I feel the same way, but you don't know. And the question we were having was like, do you think we'll get to do it again? Like, I don't know. It's like, it's pretty weird, right? But it's good. Like, there was that feeling of, at least for us, and us being like us and Brian, and again, there's 100, 150 other people, and that was it. To me anyway. And so I mean, like, I'm talking about a tenth of the number of people in this room. It felt like the people that were sharing it. So the fact that 10 years later it's like this is incredible.
Because of what you said, Mads, about some of the stuff that was in the script, and the question was, what was the biggest WTF moment on the show that you thought?
WTF being what? Something that surprised us or shocked us, or no, I mean the biggest thing was when you spent 4 days learning your text about the Hungarian food in the early 1700s, with a ton of words you've never heard before, and then you come in and Brian rewrote it to Japanese food. What the fuck, right? I just like Japanese better. Great for you. Can you give me 5 minutes to pick this up? So that was basically what we're dealing with. It's not like we see a corpse on one of the plateaus, the mural.
Well, there was one time. What's the name of the doctor who it's the first time you were noticed? It's Sutcliffe.
Yeah.
I had just worked with him like 2 months earlier, and I hadn't seen him on set. Walked in and there's his head. That was slightly what the fuck.
Yeah. But at that time, I'd spent a few scenes with him like that, and I had a lot of fun with that.
It was inappropriate.
It was. So for me, I took it for granted that he looked like that.
Speaking of fan questions, I have a few more that I would like to ask, but I would also like to prep our audience on how we will be conducting fan questions. QR code will be put up on the screens that you can scan and submit your questions through Play ECCC. So we will continue some of these questions, but please begin submitting your questions. We would love to see them.
Yeah. Maybe. Are they getting screened?
I mean, they're on the screen, but never mind. It's the Wild West now. There's no moderation. That was 5 years ago.
Speaking of food, though, Hannibal likes to host an elegant dinner. If either of you were to host a dinner party, what do you think that would be like? What kind of food would you have? Would it be big? Would it be small? What kind of music?
I'm not a chef.
You have a nice kitchen?
I have a nice kitchen, and I'm actually good at chopping. I'm good at chopping stuff, really good with knives. be something Asian.
Crudité, then.
Yeah, no, like it would be Asian, it would be some Thai food because there's a lot of chopping going on there, and then you fry it really fast. So for me, it would be simple Thai dinner.
Very finely chopped. I do like cooking, so I don't know, it's like whatever comes to mind on the day, really. I have no preference. Music, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. That's somebody else's fun.
Was there anyone in the cast or the crew who you would like to shout out, whether it was for their performance, their work ethic, or how maybe they supported you on set?
No, we love them all. I mean, we're not going to mention one.
We can't remember.
I mean, obviously, Lawrence gave me a really nice answer. After a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think, I was really struggling figuring out how to address this character, and we were both struggling to figure out what this was all about. And there was a ton of focus on my accent. Nobody was talking about my acting. It was all about, Matt, can you say teacup? I just said a teacup. No, I mean teacup. Yeah, that's
Now in English.
I was a little pushed there, and then I had the first scene with Lawrence, and he could tell. He's seen me work before, and he liked what he'd seen. And then after the first take, he took me aside and said, Matt, it's your office, it's your couch. What's wrong with you? I said, yeah, remember, it's your place. Just go in there and grab the space. It's yours. You're good. And that was really nice wake-up call. Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks. So yeah, I'll shout out for that. That was really helpful. And she didn't tell me that because she was all over the place as well.
No, it was your office. Actually, I had a similar thing with Lawrence. I mean, not exactly the same. I think for him, he'd been working on, I forget what he'd been doing for a few years, but it was very different by definition. It was different. And we had that scene in the first episode where he comes into the men's bathroom and throws someone out and then has a tantrum, basically, right? And I remember, I can't remember why, but he came in, this is very Lawrence, and he kind of comes in, he saunters in, he's like, what's going on? What are we doing? What's the scene? You know, we're like, okay, well, you know, we kind of talk through it. And in conversation with me and Brian, I guess, we're like, you know, you can let rip, like, if you want to, which is, if you say that to Lawrence, you know, you get it. So he did, he just kind of burst into this bathroom. And we did it, and then at the end, I just remember really clearly, he said, thanks, he said, that felt good. And he hadn't got to kind of cut loose for a while, I guess, or maybe he was just being sweet. Maybe he had a bad day.
Throughout the series, is there any one particular scene or performance that you were very proud of?
I think we both, we've had that question a few times, and I think we always end at the same answer, which is we do like the ending of season 2. It's brutal, it's heartbreaking, it was physically really challenging for all of us, and we kept shooting the entire night to get this in the can. You know, when Hannibal's cleaning up, emotionally and physically, right? And I think that it stands out for us as something very special.
How long would your days? I know it varies, but like on average, how long would you say?
They were long. I'm working, you know, TV now. Now you go. It's still a long day, right? It's a 13-hour day. You do 6 hours. You break for lunch. You do another 6 hours, and then basically that's it. But 10 years ago, it was much more common that you just kind of kept going. I mean, and on this show, it was really true. So, you know, push another hour, another 2 hours, 3 hours. So that scene we shot till 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
It was long.
You know, we basically had the choice when we got home at night to you can sleep, or you can learn your text for tomorrow, or you can eat. One of those.
And I chose to sleep and eat at the same time.
Now you both also have large bodies of work that need to moving forward in the now, are there any projects, either personal or professional, you can talk about that you are working on and would like to share a little bit more of?
Well, I'm working on Law and Order. We're getting towards finishing this and kind of loving it. It's a funny thing to be working on a show that's been on for, somebody said to me this morning, centuries. that made me feel good. but it has been on forever, but then kind of actually was off for a while, it came back, so you're trying to reconfigure it. I've never been part of something like that where it's a big, it's like it's a big engine. And as we're working on it all the time, there's little tweaks and there've been changes and adjustments, and you start to think, oh, okay, I think we're actually doing pretty well now. I think we're making the show basically that we want to be making. So that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying it.
I'm not doing anything. But I have a couple of things coming up, which is obviously one thing with Brian Fuller called Dust Bunny. Don't have the date, but it's around the corner somewhere. And I have a Danish thing called The Last Viking, which is worked with a director 6 times now, which is a big...
You know it won't be The Last Viking. That'll never die.
No Vikings in it. Yeah, it's a crazy comedy, and so that's what we're focusing on now. And then no work, just relax. Yeah.
Very important. Thank you so much for sharing. So this first question, what is your favorite mannerism for your character?
Looking faintly pissed.
I think actually the wine snobbery thing, smelling out here, I kind of like it just because it came out of the blue and it didn't mean anything until I figured out what it could mean, and then I became proud. And I told everyone, look how smart I am as an actor.
It was amazing. She's an amazing chef.
For me, it was with Lawrence. We had foie gras, liver pate, and I think Lawrence loved it even more than I did because he deliberately fucked up the scene a few times. So we could have another portion. That was just so good, so good. But everything was really delicious, everything, except for one thing: a fish in some gel. Yeah, no, that wasn't our best and our proudest moment. No. The Ottoman was good. It was marzipan.
Marzipan with little bits of dry pasta for the bones. That's attention to detail.
Favorite voice line in the show?
Voice line.
What do you mean?
Meaning
voice
a piece of dialogue? Maybe?
Yeah, I know what that is. Well, I think one of the favorite lines of all is when you said, "Is your therapist in that horse?" That was your line?
Yeah.
I love that.
That was good.
It was so funny.
But that had a bit of a curse on it. Sometimes this happens in a script where it's a really good line, and then you show up, you know it's good, and you show up in the morning, and everybody's like, "Hey, that line's really good, right?" Yeah, it's really good, and I can't wait to see that line. Yeah. It's going to be really funny, and then by the time you get to do it, you just feel like,
there was one that was surprisingly good, that ended up being surprisingly good, where Alana is asking me where Jack is. And I look at her little puzzle and I say, in the pantry. And I didn't understand. It's like, what's this line for? But it makes sense when we did it, right? It turned out to be cool.
There was a question on here that was, what is your favorite breed of dog?
What's my favorite what, sorry?
breed of dog.
Oh, I love all dogs. I'm very big on huskies and I have a smaller dog and I love her very much, but huskies are very fascinating animals.
Just in case she's watching.
You can read me like an open book. Huskies are great because they are so close to the real deal as a wolf, right?
For both of you, what is your favorite memory from working on Hannibal?
it's a collective thing. It's the collective experience of 3 years of work, right? It was, I mean, to repeat ourselves, it was hard work, and we were working together. I mean, all of us as a unit, but like particularly Maz and myself and Brian. So that by the end, you know, we felt like we were kind of honing in on something together, which is not always the case. That's a still rare and special thing.
Yeah, the same for me. I mean, it's the longest I've ever worked on one thing in my life. You normally see each other for 2 months and that's it, and then you might see each other 10 years later, but this was 3 years very intensely together. And the cliche of the family cliche, but it became very intense and very family-like.
There was a question here earlier mentioning the both of you and Brian, which was, what was it like to work with Brian Fuller? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but was there anything else you wanted to expand on?
With Brian?
Yeah.
Well, Maz has a whole different experience now, because he's working
Yeah, I worked on the project. Yeah, now he's a director as well. Yeah, but there's nobody like Brian. That's the thing. I mean, his mind is working on a completely different level. And so even if there's something on the page that you might go, what the fuck is going on? You can be absolutely sure he knows what he's doing, and it's going somewhere that will surprise you.
And if you chart your way through it, that's right, you often like would drop into it. Yeah. Oh, right, okay, I understand what he was feeling in the moment. He was sat up in his apartment in Toronto. I just know he'd be writing at 4 a.m., I'm sure. Just kind of really feeling through it, but then dressed in this layer of ornate and complicated language that somehow, you know, without calling anybody else out, saw other iterations of it by other people, and it never quite worked, right? Because having language like that that's also just immersed in feeling that you can, after a while, deliver naturalistically, kind of. It is an incredibly unlikely and rare thing. And yeah, that was.
That also creates that he's hands-on on a lot of things. I mean, because that's down to the detail on your pants or what's on the table.
Oh, those striped curtains in your office, that was Brian.
Because
Dr. Steve's curtain.
if that's not the way he imagined it, none of this makes sense.
Just Brian's a traditional, like, old-fashioned showrunner, right? When everything is coming through his filter, which is not always the case. A showrunner can be a head writer, and then, you know, everything else is other people. Brian, just as Maz said, everything was coming out of him. He's watching with Maz's dog, so we have to be very careful.
And a husky.
Actually, I once left my dog with Maz, with Brian, when we were filming in Toronto. We had to, my wife and I both had to leave for the weekend or something, so I said, we had our dog with us, and I said to Brian, who I knew loves dogs, and I mean, as you could probably guess from the show, but, and his dog was back in LA, and he was missing, and so I said, would you want to look after him? Yes, please. So we took the dog, and we went off to whatever we were doing, and about 8 hours later, I got a photo, which was just Brian putting our dog in the oven.
And he took the dog out of him.
Sure, yeah.
There was a question on here that was, what was your favorite place to film? And you said you filmed in Toronto for the series.
The whole thing was, apart from Florence, obviously. Well, so Florence, yeah. That's the answer.
No, I love Toronto. I love filming it.
Sure.
No, Florence was Florence, sure. Yeah. I mean, we were in the studio like 95% of the time. I think you were out in the real life.
I was out, usually wandering around in the snow in my underwear.
Yes.
I did love the little house. The little house that was my house in the show was, you know, it was about an hour plus outside of Toronto, and for some reason we seemed to mostly film out there at night, so we'd be there all night. And it was really special. It was just, you know, exactly the way it seems in the show, which is not usually the case. So I kind of loved that, but it was exhausting every time to get there. We were kind of going on about that. We were just recovering, actually.
To kind of expand on that, though, when you're working on other projects, has there been a location where you filmed that you really enjoyed?
Ever?
Oh, there's tons of places that will, blow you away because of the beauty of either the sets or the reality of something you're shooting in.
Ireland, I mean, we both filmed
Yeah.
in Ireland. That was incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing to be able to spend 6 months.
My favorite would be Iceland. I've been there a few times. It's just breathtaking to be there. So, yeah, Iceland would be mine. And then your house, of course. And then the husky, and then my dog.
One of the questions was, do either of you collect any nerdy/horror stuff?
Mostly things that you people have given us. I collect hands. Is that not an invitation to give me hands? Please do not give me hands. Seriously. But I do collect hands.
Can you elaborate on that?
Maybe later. It's a kind of contained thing, but there's in the sense that I don't have like 1,000 hands. Just, I mean, what do I mean by hands? I mean, if somebody has a really nice hand. No, I mean, this is what happened here.
You gotta get this stuff out of this story now. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so I'll explain it. So I was on a film set. I'm doing, I've been working on a Elizabeth I, and they built this incredible set, a huge, full recreation of Greenwich Palace. Right?
Oh, now it makes sense. Okay.
Right. I'm getting to it. And I've never done this before, but it was so amazing. And as I was leaving, I finished filming, I thought, I'm taking something from this set. And I walked around and I found a very old pair of wooden, I guess they were like glove stays. Gloves on. I thought, I don't know, something about it. I thought, I'll have them. And I took them home. And and I don't know where the second hand came from, but that's when you suddenly like, I'm a collector. and I realized that, and I could kind of go into it more boringly, but and then suddenly I have a lot of hands. I wouldn't say it was creepy or nerdy or horror. I don't say creepy, I put that in. Feet.
I've been collecting comic books since I was very young and small. So that's one thing. And then Brian gave me a couple of posters, original posters of Bruce Lee, Hong Kong posters. And I love Bruce Lee, so I have the little Bruce Lee thingies around in the house, where my wife doesn't turn up.
Brian gave me a couple of old Bond, like Japanese Bond posters, like really cool, like Live and Let Die, and with a great picture of Sean Connery, and I had the immense pleasure of both of my children looking at it and saying, "Daddy!" Yes! Wait, what? Do you know something I don't?
This question. What does Will's love for collecting, or for taking in dogs, tells us about his character?
He's very lonely. No, I think it's kind of that. It tells you that this guy who, at least superficially, is deeply antisocial and keeps everybody and everything at arm's length is a softie, for want of a better word.
I love Will so much, guys. Yeah, in a different way though. Not in a small way.
How often did you have to improvise?
Never. I know, not that I can think of. I mean, like improvising lines, it's too specific. Brian, I mean, the element of contribution was, and not that this happened all the time by any means, but was occasionally in conversation or discussion with Brian, either together or separate, just one-on-one, and then that would make its way into the script. But this is not stuff that you can sit and just, it would be so embarrassing, you would fail so badly. So, no.
No, there was a lot of freedom for us to figure out how to make this scene work. But in terms of what we were saying, it was, you couldn't do it. It was just impossible. If you go on a rant and you rather say something else about Japanese food, and you don't know anything about Japanese food, you're fucked. It's with the script, yeah.
Were there any props that you took from set?
No.
Funny you should ask. No, there weren't.
None?
Of course. I can't tell you now. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, so they don't sue me.
Once it's a collection.
I think when we knew this was over, it's like, well, actually, I still had a hunch that we might come back, but I took a three-piece suit, a red suit, kind of reddish suit, and I took it home, and then I realized, then we heard the story that we were not coming back, and then Brian called me and said, Matt, I really want to give you this red suit, but I can't find it. Yeah, that's because I have it, Brian.
Was the red suit your favorite suit?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's daring. I mean, it's something that you have to be brave enough to wear it, but it's beautiful.
There was a question on here that was, what was your favorite murder of the show? I would almost also say, like, what was the most shocking scene?
I mean, I guess. I do like this scene where, we both, the last scene of the show, basically, where we both killing together, because it was just more brutal. It's the first time you see everything up to that. Well, first of all, actually, not the only person I killed, now I think about it. By a long shot. But, there was something, it was a different style, right? It was teeth and slashing and gutting and so on. So yeah, that's why I like that.
There was a lot of plateaus that were really beautiful. Obviously, the totem people, the human mural, was super cool and interesting. But I gotta say, I mean, killing Abigail this third time was brutal, right? Killing little poor Abigail the third time, that was even for us a little heartbreaking, Yeah.
There was one here that said, was there anything that you learned on this set that you were able to use elsewhere in your career?
Whoa, I learned a ton of words, but I've forgotten all of them. You learn a lot from working this hard and this intensely. So it's just learning your text in a certain speed and be kind of on top of it. You'll learn a lot from that, for sure. But you would not be able to do that for year after year. You can only do it for a certain span of time. Your brain will collapse.
What is your favorite work of horror?
That's the word I didn't learn. What our favorite what?
Work of horror.
Work of horror. Come here. In general, it's like all horror things.
I mean, The Shining, sure. Like the original Nosferatu.
For me, it was the first Halloween film. Because I snuck into the movies when I was too young for it, and my brother had seen it, and he pitched it to me like 50 times. And I was just listening to him, and then eventually when I came in and saw it, I knew it.
Camping movie.
Yeah, and I was frozen in the seat, even though I knew everything that was happening. I think it's a masterpiece, the first one. Yeah.
Speaking of the horror genre, are there any other genres of work that you're kind of on the lookout for future projects? Anything you'd be interested in doing more of or done for the first time?
I mean, I'd like to do another play, actually. But no, I don't know about you, but I don't usually find myself thinking like, oh, it's time for a kind of pastoral comedy now. It's more something presents itself and and then you find yourself curious or you find yourself drawn to it or whatever. Everything aligns.
Yeah, I don't think in those terms either, but genres are interesting because they you're allowed a certain freedom within different genres, right? And if you do it right, you will obviously go down a path you haven't been before, because there will be a new challenge in there just to nail the genre itself. I've always mentioned zombie films. I just love zombies, and I also love. And I grew up with the kung fu, flying kung fu,
So if there's a
flying
kung fu zombie film, just to completely contradict myself, it's science fiction, actually.
What do you enjoy most about Seattle?
Seattle.
That's the answer.
Seattle.
Just Seattle.
Well, obviously this room. We came in yesterday and we went to a little sushi kind of joint.
It's like a Hawaiian surf sushi bar.
Yeah.
So it's that.
Yeah.
That's all we've seen.
So, for two different projects, Mads, what was it like working on Moon? And then Hugh, what was it like working on Ella Enchanted?
The question for me was working on what? Moomintroll. That was sweet.
You made a Moomintroll?
No, it was a restoration of an old original film, and then they brought in all the Scandinavian actors with their funny Scandinavian accents. And we did it in English for some reason. It was actually just doing ADR on a little piece of animated film.
But there was already animated.
It was animated, but it was restored from the 60s, 70s, I don't know what they did with it, but it was very sweet, it was fun, and it was a great honor because I got to work without ever have met the great Max von Sydow. So I'm in a film with Max von Sydow, and I find that like a really nice feather in my hat.
Ella Enchanted, great. It was just before Max von Sydow was also in Ella Enchanted. He was not. Just before King Arthur. So I went for. I mean, there's quite distinct movies, but I ended up spending something like a year in Dublin because we filmed both of them there. I don't know. It was great. Tommy O'Haver, who directed it, is still a good friend of mine. I just did a kind of fun, I think. Fiction podcast thing with him. So anything like that where you make a friendship that, lasts for decades at this point is usually a really good time.
What ending would you like to see for your characters?
A big cushion at the bottom of
Oh, but why would we want to see an ending? we want to see it continue, right? Obviously, there's no way, at least Hannibal's not going to survive that, of course. And so is Will. And then there's just a question of how much we jump in time, because if we do jump 6-7 years, it can be very interesting what these guys are doing now, right? So I don't want to see an ending, I want to see a fresh start. Yeah.
There's a question here that was, how do you prepare for your roles? I can imagine that's different based on the project, but is there anything that you kind of set up for yourself, just like across the board, that you like to do to help you prepare?
The only thing I do, and this is not really a thing to do, but I find writing helps me. I mean, often, sometimes if I'm trying to make sense of something, or if I've read something that relates to a project and I write down any thought I have as it occurs to me, it's helpful because usually then I'll go back and read it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good thought. And it's very clear to me that I would have just forgotten it. So having a record, I find kind of helps process things sometimes. But honestly, you're right. It completely depends on what the project is.
I think my preparation is kind of always the same, in the sense that it's about reading the script, which is now my new Bible, reading it again and again, coming up with questions, suggestions, and just being a pain in the ass for the director in general. That is my process, back and forth, back and forth. There's always details we can go that way and that way. And so for films, you live with it for 2 or 3 or 4 months, right? And it's all about the script and having a communication with your fellow actors and of course the boss, which is the director.
It's basically the process that if you're doing a play, that happens in rehearsal, right? You come to understand the shape of it, and you hack away at it, and then it makes sense eventually. And in film, you have to do that yourself, and you have to do it with the other people you're working with in advance.
Yeah, and because, as you say, if let's say we do one of the scenes in the very early start of the film, we do one of the last scenes, we really have to be on the page, because we're not going to go back to that scene. Whatever this character is going through, we now have to have in that scene, and that's why you need to at least ask questions in your own brain to a degree that it makes sense.
Actually, I did want to go back. I did want to go back to what you were saying about writing things down, because I am curious about that. So when you say writing things down, do you meant like things that character would say, or?
Oh, no, not particularly, or backstory or anything like that. I mean, maybe if a thought occurred to me. And I mean, honestly, it varies. But I mean more, it would really be sitting and doing what Maz is describing, which is going through the script and then going through the script again and trying to find like what pops out. Like, it's almost, sometimes it's just like word association, not literally word association, but what pops into your head is a thought, and I find writing that down would be helpful because often they're barely connected, right? And then later on, returning to what I've written out, maybe you'll find something that's helpful. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can write it down in the script or in a little notebook next to it. But it's not reading it, it's also like enacting it emotionally, constantly, because once you're not fully out, but touch it. Because then all of a sudden you realize, you know what? The next scene doesn't make sense. I can just tell, if he's there, he's not going to go through that door. He'll do something else. You know?
Or because this other thing is coming up that I've now come to understand, the way I imagined this previous scene no longer quite makes sense. That's what I mean about, like in rehearsal, if you rehearse something from start to finish, which I guess people do sometimes in film, I've never done it. But it happens.
It's rare. I've done rehearsals in film. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of it on theater, but in films, different animals.
Yeah, theater without rehearsing would really suck.
Yeah, but it's all the time, right? And that's part of it. But in films, I'm not a big fan. I like that we address how we're going to do the scene. But the first time we do the scene, we need to shoot it because there's always something what we call the butterfly dust of the first take that is surprising everyone in the room, and that there's some gold in there. We can't over-rehearse it before we shoot it.
Is that a thing specifically for your set?
No, I think a lot of people like that. I mean, some people like to rehearse it before they shoot. A lot of people do enjoy to see that. We know we have a good idea what this is about. Let's go in and give it a shot, and then we can talk after the first take. But you will often in the first take see something you would never come up with because you haven't rehearsed it, right? And so I enjoy that moment.
And then this will be our last question, which was, is there a particular season that you really, really enjoyed filming? Maybe the most?
Not really, because I mean, when you go back and you start thinking about it, like we do always return to that culmination of season 2. That was incredibly powerful. But then again, season 1, you've got these two characters almost swapping places. And so, honest answer, no, not really. It was, I guess maybe as we entered into the second season, there was a feeling that we'd settled into something. You can see it in the show because it's less episodic, right? The first season, I think, maybe because that's the task he was given, Brian was writing more of the murder of the week thing, which was fine, but then that eased up a little bit in the second season. And then by the third season, you're like, woo, we're in a mind palace, yeah. But they were all felt quite unique.
Yeah, but I would say the second season for the reasons you mentioned. Not only did the structure ease up, we eased up, we had a fairly good idea where we were going with this. And then I just enjoyed thoroughly that Will ended up in jail, which was wonderful.
Well, no, I didn't end up in jail. That was the end of the first season.
Yeah, but you start out in jail.
That's what I did. That's what you meant. Ended up stabbed.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Hugh, Mads, thank you so much for joining us today.